Nikki Sixx, welcome to Dad Edge, man.
Hey man, nice to see you.
Good to see you too. And this is, I got to tell you, man. So I'm 46. I grew up like literally with your music. So this is like I was in eighth grade when Dr. Feelgood came out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, man, this is like surreal for me. So it's pretty cool to meet
Oh,
you, man.
fantastic, man. That's great. It's good to hear. I remember those years like being in junior high and high school and finding those bands and we cover a lot of that in the first 21 book, talk about the discovery of music. And I was, a different earlier era than you, but we were literally would bring our vinyl like to school, like this is like my cherished like Zeppelin one and Sabbath one, and I'll trade you for a week with Uriah Heep and like Deep Purple, Burn album or whatever. And it's just like this, you're transferring all this energy and like in high school and junior high, and you're going to parties and music was a lot more enjoyable for me then because in some ways, because I put on, whatever the album is, Electric Warrior by T-Rex, and you put on like side A song 1. You didn't put on side B song 4 and then pick the needle up and then put it back. You weren't just playing singles all the time. And we got to a really cool place, especially in the 70s, because we started with AM radio, which was single bass. So when FM radio came around, it was pretty experimental. It was album oriented. Bands started to make albums, and then they would find songs on the albums to play, and then somehow they would mysteriously, a lot of people would all like sync up and agree that Stairway to Heaven is like the greatest song of all time. So they keep calling the radio station to play it. But those times were magical, and I talk a lot about that. And I think that the self-discovery of yourself as a young man or a young woman, and music and fashion and your surroundings, and how good of a support system you had, your family, good, bad, it all kind of makes us who we are today.
Yeah, amen to that, man. And that's a really cool transition because like I was saying, you and I share a very similar experience growing up with our own fathers, who unfortunately left the picture, right?
Yeah.
And I really want to, obviously I've read your first book, watched the movie The Dirt, huge fan of that movie. And I got to tell you, man, like in the very beginning of the movie, I was like, wow. Like there's that part in the movie that I'm curious that actually if it really happened where you call your dad. And
Yeah.
I remember being in that position myself, and it's very surreal. And unless you've been in that position, not
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really understand it.
Yeah.
But for you, what was your childhood like, man? Like without him around, what did it feel like?
Well, the part of the cathartic um uh good part of this book was when we went back and actually, making it only 21 years, ending on the day I changed my name legally to Nikki Sixx. I don't even form Mötley Crüe yet, but yet you'll see everything that happened in my life and you'll go, oh, I get it when I listen to Too Fast for Love. Like it all like makes sense. But it's not a Mötley Crüe book. It's about a young dreamer, Frankie Ferrana, and that was my dad's name. And I was given a lot of information by my mom, and probably some stuff that you just are like, well, that guy's got to be a bad guy because he was never here.
Right.
And I found that like my dad wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm not saying he was perfect. He did leave me. But we're starting to understand it wasn't my mom's version of the story, which was partial lies. That, as you know, somebody whose father left manifests in a lot of different ways. I don't think there's any one way that it manifests. Mine came out later. Like when I was younger, I didn't even know, because I had my grandfather there as a male role figure. My grandmother was there loving on me. We were in the country. We traveled, meaning we moved from city to city, which was kind of traumatizing, but also adventurous. I spent time with lots of different kinds of people, spent a lot of time in Texas with a lot of, like, some of my best friends were like, young Mexican kids. I got involved in that culture. And I still have this deep, deep love of Mexican people and Mexico also because of that. And I lived in Mexico for a year. So anyway, it wasn't as bad as I thought, bro, to be honest with you. Like, I got pissed when I was in my late teens, and it fueled songs like Bastard and fueled stuff. But, I've never been a miserable guy. I just had some, like, wounds inside, and I didn't understand what to do with them. So as an artist, I got to, vomit them out, so to speak, write about them this way. So I have a lot of, especially because of this book, a lot of, like, really cool memories of being a kid. And what I enjoy about this book is I think my memories, if you read my book, are probably similar to some of your memories. I mean, the concept of, a lot of people that are fans of my band are like your age, a little older, a little younger. And then we have the new audience. But I'm sure you remember this. Come home when the sun goes down. That was the rule. There was no cell phones. There was no beepers. If there were, we didn't have beepers. We weren't drug dealers. And the sun's going down. You look at your friends. You get on your bicycle and you bolt home. Dinner's on the table. And that was like some of those standardized things, like watching cartoons. Saturday morning cartoons were such a big deal because we didn't have things like 24-hour animation, cartoons all the time. So a lot of stuff was, like, really important to us when we were younger, like riding bicycles, looking at, checking out the girls in the hallway at school, discovering, whoever your favorite bands were, having those moments that are so important to being a young boy and a young girl. And I kind of, in a lot of ways, omitted them by evolving into Nikki Sixx. I was like, I'm leaving that behind. I'm going to leave that behind. And I left a lot of stuff behind that needed to be left behind, but also I left some stuff, like, you throw the baby out with the bathwater. I just didn't. I got to relive it and relook at stuff with a different view.
It's fascinating that you say that. I was reunited actually with my own father when I was 12, brief period of time, very, very brief, 6 months. I ran into him by mistake when I was 30, and we've had a relationship now for the past 16 years. I'm 46 years old now. Yeah, it's been great. And your journey and what you just described is a lot like how I grew up. It's like when you're younger, you really don't, I wouldn't say you don't notice it, but you're not necessarily pumped up about it. You're not angry about it. It's just like, oh, well, this just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
When you get older, some things kind of surface and that kind of thing. But at the same time, the way I look at it now, especially after all the discussions we've had, it's a lot like what you said. My mom really told me, like, he was a lot of things that he really wasn't.
Yeah.
And she probably did that from a protection standpoint, but at the same time, like, my dad's a good guy and we have a good relationship now. It's just good people sometimes don't make the best decisions. They make decisions that are best suited for them at the time.
Yeah.
And, people apologize and things move on,
You can't live in the quicksand. You gotta get out of it. And sometimes the person that throws you the rope is the person you never thought you would ever talk to again.
Right.
Now, my memories of my dad I don't really have any. I have a couple pictures in these videos, but what I do have is family members that talk to me about my dad. And that was kind of like mind blowing. I'm sure when you ran into your dad, it was like, I'm not sure, like, where's this gonna go, but you just kind of probably let go and you had a great experience. I'm really happy for you.
Thanks, man.
When I was talking to my aunt and uncle specifically, and they told me things about my dad that I never knew. Like, my dad was extremely creative. like an architect. He could paint, he could draw, he could design. He was a big guy. He played football. He was very athletic. He was had a big personality. He was charming. He liked to fish. He liked to hunt. And I see parts of me in that, which I just thought, well, my dad, like, left me and my mom. And I have a sister, Lisa. She's passed away, but she
Yeah, I
was
read that.
born. Yeah, and it was, and it is what it is. It's part of my journey. She was born with Down syndrome, and the story I got is my dad left, and they took Lisa away, and then your grandparents took you away from me, and I was the victim. So as years came, I also became extremely mad at my mom
Right.
for a lot of things, because I realized she wasn't a victim in all this. These were choices she made. But again, like you, it wasn't like a main thing in my life. Like, I didn't think about my mom and my dad all the time. I thought about going to see The Exorcist with that girl in school that was way out of my league. And we get mature. We to get through complete maturity, you have to deal with reality. And when you're young, and you could say immature, even though there's very mature young people, a lot of this stuff isn't a priority. But you get to a certain place, and it's like, you got to deal with it. And it's the best thing we can pass on to our kids. I think that my kids seeing their dad work through stuff with his family gives them the belief that no matter what happens in our family, dad's figured out the tools, even though I'm sure, they've got their gripes about their dad too. One of them could be is that, I was gone a lot. I started out falling in love with music, playing in bands. The dream was to get a record deal. Eventually it happens, you take off, you're on tour, and then you have children. And what am I supposed to do now? Like, change jobs? So they kind of get rolled into that, and you try to make amends for that and spend extra time with that. But I'm sure, for them that was hard. And also, like, my kids have told me that our last name would just jump out like during roll call. It's like, Susie Williams here, Storm Six, and everybody would all turn. Thanks for calling me Storm, Dad. Couldn't have just made it a little bit under the radar. But they had to learn a tool, which me and you didn't have to learn. What's it like to have a celebrity
Right.
as a dad? And do these kids really like me because I'm just a kid and we get along and we agree on our music that we like, whatever it might be? Or do they like me because of my dad?
Mhm.
One of the ways, like, I fought that off was, for most of my children's childhood, and still to this day, pretty much, and my wife's making me find them all, I had no gold or platinum albums in the house. So I would go to school, like my 20-year-old now, when she was in, second, third, fourth grade, I'd go and pick her up at school. And all the kids would be, can we go over to Nikki's house? And it was amazing because the parents knew I was a good guy. They could sense I was a good guy, and they knew I was sober. Like, sure, is that okay with you, Nikki? And I would take like 4 or 5 kids back to my house, and the parents would, like, come and get them like 2 hours later. And they felt safe. They walk in, there was no gold or platinum records. We didn't talk about Mötley Crüe. We didn't talk about anything other than just being a dad. That's because I didn't want to be my dad. So me not wanting to be my dad made me a better dad, but me being able to forgive my dad might even make me a better dad now, because, I get it, man. Like, not to be macabre or anything, but like, I'm 62 years old. So like, let's not, try and like lie. I got more years behind me than I do in front of me, because I'm not going to live to be 100 and what is that, 124? My math is not great. You're like, no, that's, sorry, Nikki, math,
Close enough.
it's close enough, bro. I would love to, but science probably says differently. So what am I going to do with the next 30 years, bro? Like I got a 2-year-old, like what am I going to do for my 30-year-old? What am I going to do when they need guidance? What am I going to do? Well, how am I going to control my destiny so that they can look back on their father's legacy as part of their legacy and feel proud? And they're not going to get there if we're pissed off.
Oh man. Well,
Not going to get anywhere. Not going to make your wife happy. You're not going to make your girlfriend happy. You're not going to make your husband happy. You're just not you're not living your full life. So this concept, whether you're a rock star or a movie star, or you work for the local gas company, or you work at Starbucks, like put down the baggage, man. Shit's heavy and it gets tiring to carry it around. Everywhere you go, you open up your suitcase. Look at my life and how horrible it was. Everyone's like, don't invite him over to the party. He's a drag. He's the worst on the 4th of July.
You're spot on, man. I got to tell you, and I think you'll probably relate to this. I think a lot of people in your position growing up, my position growing up, we went through those years of feeling kind of, cheated on certain things, right?
Cheated.
Abandoned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, what could have been had this been right? Right. And you kind of go through those angry years. And a lot like you, man. I mean, I went through some healing, several years ago, and it's really like, wow, the only person that this is really hurting is me. And by the way,
that's
right?
your aha moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an aha moment, like it must have been 15 years ago. I love therapy. I love learning, so I was like, I found this lady and she had specialized a couple things like I wanted to deal with. It's not easy being a leader of a band, and I have great management team, but I'm also very self-manageable. So like I'm extremely aware of what I want to do, but I have a great team of people where we can bounce things off and make them better, right? So they're like my family. And sometimes that can really wear on you, being the responsible adult in the room all the time. And I remember seeing this lady and she's like, well, let's talk about your mom and dad. And I go, here we go again. And it was this weird day, like she had this kind of like frumpy office. I remember when I sit down, like dust came off the couch. There was like a shawl or something on the thing, some knitted stuff. And she had like, we were like polar opposites. And it was about 5 o'clock. The sun was coming in. And all the dust I could see the beams of light and the dust, and I could barely see her in the background. I felt like, am I like having an LSD flashback or something? And then she just said to me, she goes, Nikki, you don't have to love your mom. And I was like, the dust and the beams and the weird therapist and the knitted stuff and me in probably leather jacket. I was like, I don't, but I have to, because I'm her son. She goes, why? She left you. Like, why don't you apply that love towards people around you that are near and dear to you, and want you, blah, 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 and let go of that. And that took me a while to grasp, but the same thing kind of came about my dad. So once I was able to let go of the demons, then you can get information and say, my mom was extremely beautiful and she was extremely charismatic. I mean, she would walk in a room, same with my dad, and light the room up. Wow, that feels so good to say that. My dad was so creative. My mom was creative. I'm a creative person. That feels nice. My kids are extremely creative. I got it from somewhere. So everything's not bad. This is the thing, like, about life, right? Everything's not good. Everything's not bad. I got good news and I got bad news. This is what I say to people. They're like, oh my God, not another Nikkiism. Things are great.
Yeah.
Like, things are really great, man. Like, you can't, Like pick your perfect day. You know, the sun's shining, everything's going great. All your boys are doing great. Just, you know, man, I can't believe where I'm at in life. I'm 46 years old. All these people like come do my podcast. I'm just really happy. And then comes Nikki Sixx in your ear. This too shall pass. And the reason I say that is this too shall pass. Like life is this. Yep. And it'll be like, all of a sudden you can't get anybody to do your podcast. You're like, what the hell? And then comes Nikki again in your other ear. This too shall pass. Once you learn that, to do that, people in your life that aren't perfect don't hurt you so much. People in your life that are perfect, you can expect them to let you down. And then you just get into this sort of a zen place. And, you know, as a father, I think we could both agree that could be one of the most best places for us to be. I got 3 daughters and 2 sons, and I want them at any time to go, I need to call dad because he's the one.
Yep.
I know he's the one. I know no matter whatever dad's doing, he may be pissed about it. He may be excited about it, but he'll be there. And that's, you know, that's important stuff, you know, and you don't see that when I'm on stage with a flamethrower. But you know, that's another story. Yeah. That's another interview.
You know, I'm not a woo-woo type of person, but there's something in that whole, like I'm literally picturing everything that you're talking about, like the roller coaster ride, even being in that office with the crochet and the dust. And I'm gonna make I don't normally do this because I'm not woo-woo, but I'll make a comparison here because something really emerged for me when you said what you just said in that whole segment was like a breath of fresh air. Because one of the biggest themes is that when we hold on to unforgiveness, when we hold on to grudges, when we really clasp that story of like, I'm a victim, I was wronged, what that really does is that clouds our mental and emotional bandwidth to give love and acceptance to the people who mean most to us. And the comparison I want to make is you were in that office and there was dust and it's almost like that beam of light came in, you could see everything, right? And as you saw everything like that, maybe that forgiveness or that unforgiveness that was in you just sort of lifted. And you could see through everything and you're like, holy crap. Like it's almost like an aha moment that had so much symbolism in it because just the way you described it was unreal. But you're right. I mean, think of the freedom that a lot of people would have if they didn't hold on to grudges or those victim stories.
What's important about having these conversations, or for me in writing books and being transparent, is hopefully somebody out there doesn't have to wait that long,
right,
to have that moment. Maybe they're, you know, I read a lot of comments, you know, online sometimes, and I really enjoy when people are like, hey, you know, I listened to, like, when I was growing up, like your albums really gave me this. And as I, like, you know, I remember like getting married, having a kid, and then this, and then I heard an interview, and you see these positive things and you go, wow, you can still be in a rock and roll band. You can still burn down the building. You can still hand out like hearing damage. You know, here you go, come to the show, here comes your hearing damage, and still be a good human being. And I always felt like I was a good human being, but I just was carrying around a lot of pain. And why not try to, through conversations, books, podcasts, you know, the way we lead our life, pass that information on. So maybe your son, when he's like 18 and he's like struggling, he's like, you know, I've heard so much positive from my dad that I'm gonna be able to get through this. It's not going to take me down.
Yeah. And I love you being the go-to, or us, right, as fathers being the go-to. You know, we call that creating an environment of psychological safety where, you know, I remember growing up, if something went wrong, I was like, holy crap, my mom can never find out, right? Because there was like punishment, guilt, shame, like all this stuff, like, you know what I mean? And not that I'm raising my kids without discipline. There's plenty of discipline to go around here. However, creating an environment where like when things go wrong, you're the guy, right? It's like, oh man, I can't believe this just happened. I'm going to call my dad. Right.
What a gift.
Right. Versus the other way is like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm not going to, he can't, I don't even want to deal with that. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that.
When in the book, I talk about this moment when um, I was struggling this idea of calling my dad. And in retrospect, it would have been great. I would have called my dad and he was able to be like, I'm there for you, son. I was struggling in Los Angeles. I was 19 or 20. Or come to San Jose and, meet your family and, but what I was really calling about was like, hey man, you owe me. And my mom partially did that. And so I have to forgive my mom. I didn't have the opportunity to call my dad and say, hi, it's your son. I know I haven't talked to you. I don't need anything. I just want you to know me. I want to know you. And things might have, been different. But, that's not life, man. Like it's not, that's why we write imperfect books that are like this. Look at these pieces of glass that we somehow glued together. And now we have it's together, but it's still got cracks in it. But the cracks, as with scars, I got so many scars on my body. Those are the strongest parts of my body, to go where I've been, cut open from surgeries, from breaking guitars, and that skin is stronger than the skin next to it. And so, there's positive in all this stuff. I'm really enjoying the positive. I'm enjoying the forgiveness. I'm enjoying that. And my daughter Storm said to me, Dad, you seem so happy. What a great
Isn't that
thing.
awesome? Yeah.
That made her feel, I don't think
Yeah.
there's any part of my daughter that feels like she has to take care of her dad, but to be able to have that openness that we can talk as adults, that's pretty rad, man.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
To say the least. Yeah. One of the biggest compliments, you met my 15-year-old Ethan. And I think as fathers, man, we're super critical of ourselves, even when we're doing pretty good, right? We're still like, oh, it could be better.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you always think there's always this element of like, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? I'm not really sure. But my 15-year-old he says things that it just makes me so happy. He'll be like, I love my life. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And it's not because like, we don't spoil our kids with like possessions or anything like that. I'm like, man, like why? He's like, basically the themes of what he says is, I love the environment that we have here as a family. And that's a cool thing. So for your daughter to say that, right? Yeah. That means she sees you, she sees how you're operating, what you're doing, and she's reflecting back, which is pretty darn cool.
Growing up in Idaho, partially in Idaho, I got to spend a lot of time in the country. Yeah. And we hunted and we fished a lot, and especially fishing. And, I learned a lot of lessons about, nature and respecting animals. And if you catch a fish, you eat the fish. This isn't like, it's all about supplementing our income when we didn't have a big income. But we also, it made, like me and my grandfather especially, we had that in common. And we sold our house in Los Angeles and moved to Wyoming. And we live on this beautiful butte on 20 some acres. And we don't really see any houses, and the Grand Tetons are right there, and Sleeping Indian Mountains right there. And sometimes we have up to like 9 moose in a day during the rutting season, the mating season at our yard. And what I've got from watching the wildlife and remembering the wildlife from when I was a kid is they exactly have what you just said you have with your son. Like it is the male, they have a, they mate, they have a, the cow has, a baby, and there's a whole raising her, and the males are like protective. And then there's this whole thing that happens, and it happens this year and 20 years and 100 years and 500 years in the future and 500,000 years back. Animals got it right. Right? They got it right. There's not like the moose down the road telling the other moose like, hey man, your mom's like a bad person. So I try to look at nature sometimes and how simple it is, and try to simplify my life, because I think as human beings, because we are intellectuals, we can sometimes think ourselves into a corner.
Oh man, you're not kidding.
No kidding, man. Here I am in the
kidding.
corner. My wife will be like, how'd you get in the corner? I thought myself into it. She goes, you're doing a great job. Why don't you just turn around and face the wall while you're at it? And you don't see that in nature. You know, nature has its ebb and flow, and it is what it is. And I've been paying a lot of attention to that, which in an ironic, weird, you're like, okay, Nikki's lost it now. I'm also thinking about music like that. Simplify the music, get the message out, get the story. Because I like to tell stories as a writer. I remember Vince one time was like, my God, how many words have you jammed into Shout at the Devil? And he was right, you know, melodically, but it also, he has that kind of voice that's like bap, 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 bap. So the words really fit in there. But in general, there was a collision course of a documentarian storyteller trying to get it all out there, yet, you know, unification with shouting at the devil, you know, against the enemy, against the perceived enemy. And I'm trying to like go, how can I take one note, like when I first started, and one idea and not change? Strawberry Fields Forever is a great example. This song just kind of stays here, and John Lennon's melodies just change and go, and you don't even know that. So nature's like really good for me right now. It's, you know, the pandemic, we're up there, we're away from everybody, we're thinking a lot. It got me to write a book, some new music with my partners in 6 a.m. Now I'm on to another book idea and another idea that we just came up with, and working on a children's book with my wife. So I need to go on tour, stop this thing.
That's the creative mind, man. You know,
oh
right?
my God, it's wrangling cats, bro. It's wrangling cats.
if you are in a certain environment, so I'm working on my 4th book right now, and I've been telling my wife, I was like, if I go away to like Colorado or in the mountains somewhere for 5 days, I can knock out the last half of this book. I know I can.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It's hard. I picked up a guitar the other day. I play bass, obviously. I picked up a guitar the other day, and I was like, man, I'm rusty. And then I looked over at my 2-year-old, and I go, if I could go to Colorado for a couple months, I'd come back and I'd be shredding, you know. So time, we're like constantly having to deal with time, whether it's with our age or the people we love around us evolving and changing, and us changing. And do we have enough time to get that last half of that 4th, and then the 5th, then the 6th book done? Oh, now time management's another thing that I've been trying to work on. I never wanted to, I didn't think I ever wanted to do another band. So I did a band called 58, which was an experimental project. Did a band that was kind of power pop punk called Brides of Destruction. Really loved that. We did 6 a.m. Obviously I have Mötley Crüe, but the bands I only ever wanted to just be in a band. I'm now, this is my, you know, 3rd book by myself, 4th, including The Dirt. Never thought I was like going to write books and do photo exhibits, galleries with my photography. I thought I was just going to be like, I just, you know, when I was in Idaho, I was like, I'm going to be in a band and I'm going to get a hot girl, and maybe one day I can afford a sports car. You know what I mean? And then you end up, you know, realizing that this brain that we have is an asset.
Oh yeah.
But how do we manage it and not take attention away from our family?
Yep.
That's hard.
It's very hard. It's obviously a difficult balance. It's one of the number one things, obviously, that we see guys, that what they face. I'm really curious about sobriety for you. Like I saw on Instagram, 20 years, right? This year, 20?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm just really curious. What are some of the most amazing benefits that you've seen with doing that?
Sobriety is such a gift, but I do want to preface it by saying, and I think that people should talk about this a little bit more. When people get sober, a lot of people get newly sober, and we'll talk to them, and they're like, "This sucks," because you've been using Band-Aids to cover these wounds. But what you don't realize when you pull off the Band-Aid, once you really look at it, it's not as bad as you thought. It's actually manageable. But the moment when you take away the drugs and the alcohol, the sex, the gambling, this, whatever it is that you do, you have to face it. But it's through facing it that you will change your life and everybody around you's life. I always say, if you don't believe me, then prove me wrong. Get sober for 1 year of your life. Throw yourself for 1 year of your life. That's all. Not 1 year and a week. I won't trick you at 1 year and say, let's do 2. Give me 1 year of your life. Come back and talk to me. And people will say, in the last year of my life, my marriage, we were on the, way to divorce. My kids would have had to live through divorce. I was on the verge of getting fired from the company that I started, whatever their story is. And now all this stuff has happened. So sobriety is something to embrace wholly, not partially. And I threw myself into it. And, the reason I wrote the Heroin Diaries was because of, showing what addiction looks like, but also what recovery looks like. But if you know anything about me lyrically, or my photography, or even the new book, and I'll get to the photos in the book in a second. It's about being completely responsible and transparent. Oh, that's not always glamorous. So you have to have some courage. And I'm just saying, I learned that from some old timers. And in the book, the new book, even though it seems not to be a big deal, I really sought out pictures where I wasn't a rock star yet. I think this bowl haircut and these horrible glasses. My grandfather was not going to let me grow my hair out. It didn't matter how many times I listened to, Deep Purple or whoever it was. I wasn't going to look like that. And I'd have my grandmother making me bell-bottom pants, and he was like, "What do you wear? You can't wear those on the farm." The point is showing yourself.
Wear bell-bottoms on the farm.
You can't wear bell-bottoms on the farm. By being honest, you can help other people.
Yeah.
Like, we all have awkward stages. We all have dreamer stages. We all have stages where we go for it and we fail. And then we all have moments where we succeed. And if you share all that with people, I think whether it's for being a dad or husband or whatever you do for a living, you can inspire people around you. And I believe that you need to give back more than you take.
I agree, man. I love that reflection. I think sobriety scares a lot of people. Just being totally transparent. Like I drink right now as we're actually we're doing this show right now. I'm actually leading 30 plus men through a 90-day sobriety challenge. So we're all doing it. So alcohol is not a big part of my life at all. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, I was challenged by a friend of mine. He's like, "Hey man, 1 year, no beer." So we did, I did no alcohol on January 1st, 2016. I didn't have my first drink until the following year, February 3rd. So I went about 13 months in a week. Mm-hmm. And it really wasn't that difficult, especially after I got past the first month. Cause I started looking at things. I'm like, oh man, I got this wedding, I got this thing. And like, you know what I mean? Right. It's like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
and the funny thing is like all my anxieties and perceptions of like, oh, people are going to think weird if I'm not drinking. They're going to wonder why do I have a problem? Like they're going to think that I'm better than them. And none of that would actually ever came true. In fact, the funny thing is like when they found out I wasn't drinking, that actually became a topic. You're like, oh, well, I think I want to try that. And I'm like, how is this happening? Right. You know?
Yeah.
But that year was such a cool experience. Right. And then I went back to it and I socially drank. I never really got that much into it. But then now that I'm doing this 90 days and we're 35 days into it, as you and I are recording, I'm like, man, I kind of forgot how good this really feels, even though I didn't drink a whole lot before, but I forgot how good this actually really feels, like how alert I feel, how productive, how clear. Like it's a good feeling.
We are one of the only animals, if not the only animal, that can totally change the shape of our body or the shape of our brain by omitting or adding stuff to it. It always amazes me. I'm like, well, you see a gorilla and it's super muscular and it's developed over how many ever, millions of years because he has a job in the jungle to do, right? And then there's other animals, but none of them can, completely change, or they don't have the intellectual ability to do like, I'm going to omit sugars and fats. I'm going to eat more protein and I'm going to push this stuff around, metal weights, and I'm going to change the shape of my body and improve my cardiovascular ability by riding an exercise bike or running or doing, and improve the oxygen level in my body. And by omitting beer for 1 year from my life, it is so interesting to me. I'm an addictive person by nature. So I'm like, what can I get addicted to now? I think I'm going to become a vegan. And I was like, wow, that felt really good. Now I think I'm going to do this. They're healthy choices though, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool, man, to like challenge yourself sometimes and like learn little lessons and stuff. Just because you omit beer or alcohol or wine from your life doesn't necessarily, you don't have to do it just because you're an alcoholic. I like what you're doing is kind of this 90-day challenge thing, getting a bunch of guys through it. Stag meetings in general, the concept of men talking to men more than just one-on-one, getting 3 and 4 men together. That was a challenge for me in the beginning because I didn't realize I didn't have real male like support. Like Ethan's got a male support system in his dad. When I go hang out with a bunch of his friends, doesn't feel weird. But I remember like my family was a band, right? But then when I got sober and I went to men's stag meetings, 20 or 30 men, and they would share their strengths and their weaknesses. It was intimidating for me. For some reason. And I think I track it back to the parenting thing, So like, but I learned from that, right? I just think there's this opportunities we have, like in this short time we're here, to be like, I'm going to omit something from my life and learn something from that, or I'm going to add something to my life. A friend of mine during the pandemic challenged himself, lived by himself, challenged himself to I think it was walk 6 miles a day and listen to whatever it was, something, how many records, complete top to bottom records. So this became his routine. 6 days a week he did this long walk, didn't make any phone calls, only listen to music. And he talked about how his body changed, his psyche changed, his sleep changed, his things to talk about change. I guess it's so simple. Walk and listen to music. But life gets crazy, man. It's like you got Instagram, you got TikTok, you got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got emails, you got phone calls, you got Netflix. It's like, need to simplify.
I agree, man. I agree. simplification to me brings more joy. I think a lot of people would agree with that, and speaking of generational intelligence, we're talking about like advising, especially now with all the distractions. I have one more question for you, but the question actually isn't mine.
Okay.
And then I obviously want to share where everybody can find your book.
Okay.
Would you have any objection if Ethan jumped in and asked a question about?
I'm so ready. Come on, Ethan.
There you go, E.
Yeah, right.
All right. So what advice would you give a teenager in this generation?
Wow. Big question. Fantastic question. The thing that scares me, Ethan, is, this is like going to be like a fully loaded shotgun blast. Okay. So, you're going to get some bad information here and you're going to get some real information here. And when I was a kid, we had marijuana, which was very illegal, by the way, and sneaking a beer. And, you could go to your friend's house and if, you sneak a bottle of vodka, whatever. So we were being kids. I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, hey, we're just being kids. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Boys will be boys and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So in my story is different than a lot of other young people's stories because I got playing rock and roll and it became part of the lifestyle. Well, the advice I would say is the drugs that are out there are not hit off of a joint or a beer. They'll kill you. And that scares me so bad for my children. I can't imagine if there was fentanyl laced hash, fentanyl laced. I read a story the other day where a guy, these comedians, they did a show and I think it was a joint. They shared a joint and 4 of them died. It was laced with fentanyl. It's so dangerous out there right now. And that's the thing I would say is like, if you can find a way around, if there's any peer pressure in your life, that's abound beer and alcohol, alcohol and drugs, try to take a real look at that because it's more dangerous than you know, and you don't need it. You're young. Like there's a lot of stuff that you want to focus on right now. And I had to go through a time where when I first got sober, I had to lose every single one of my friends. And it was a very challenging time. But I threw myself into health and fitness and I built new friendships and I wrote this album called Dr. Feelgood and the band was closer than ever and all this great stuff happened. So I'm just, to any young kids out there, try to look at the peer pressure and ask yourself if that's something that you want to take a chance on. You want to take a chance. I got a million musical things I could talk about and things like that, but that's what scares me the most. It really scares me. We're in an Airbnb out in California right now, and there's a high school right up the street where we used to live around here, and a couple of my kids went to. And I just heard a local story about a couple of football players, like star football players. They died, and it wasn't like they were like doing tons of cocaine and drinking gallons of vodka. They literally went to a party and there was something laced there, and you got these athletes, not like, what I mean? They're healthy, they're young, and they're dead. And so take a look at that. Anybody that's young, take a look at that. God, sound like the old guy sitting on the porch waving the finger, but I got some experience here, so I'm going to own it.
Wow, that's really deep.
Yeah, maybe too deep, but you know what? Better than being in a coffin, man. You don't want to see any of your friends in a coffin.
Amen to that.
All my friends are athletes.
That's
right. That's the way to go, man. Stay busy. Keep playing.
You can still listen if you want.
Okay.
Man, thank you so much for that. I'll tell you, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. So like I said, I've got a 15 and 13-year-old, and I don't remember being at that age and being exposed to it at that age, or maybe I was just naive.
Yeah.
But my kids, they're seeing it now with friends or friends of friends, and I'm like, holy crap, we're already facing this already. So
Yeah,
the
it's
fact that you
early.
said that, thank you.
Yeah, it's early, man.
Yeah.
It's early, and um, we need to demystify this. I had these rock and roll role models. It was a whole different time, and you emulate off of that. And I don't mind being the guy to help demystify it a little bit. It's not always the sexiest conversation, and as Ethan said, it's kind of, it's deep, but
So true though.
so true.
It is.
Pass it on, man.
Yeah.
Pass it on.
Is it worth it? Is really the question, right? Is it worth it? And the answer is no, it's not. You're right. I mean, there's some dangerous stuff out there.
Yeah.
Well, man, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. There were
Thanks,
so many,
man.
oh, seriously, man. Like, I'm sure you hear that a lot, but genuinely, like, knowing your story, knowing my story, I was really looking forward to this conversation. And what you shared in here, man, I was like, wow, I kept saying to myself internally, I was like, man, that is so on point.
Thanks, man.
I want to make sure that everybody listening can go grab a copy of your book. Where can people obviously find the book, best places? And then obviously if they want to follow you, where do they follow you at?
I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Nikki Sixx, Pixx, Six Picks, Nikki Sixx Picks. I like Twitter as well. I'm just Nikki Sixx. For me, I like staying on Instagram a lot because I like sharing my family and things that I'm into, as well as if I'm in band rehearsal, I'm going to share band rehearsal. If I'm on the Snake River with my friends fly fishing, I'm going to share that. That's a whole complete life that I like to share. If you want to find my book, Amazon's a great place to find it. We did an audio book, which I recorded in a cabin on top of a mountain above the Snake River. That was cool.
Nice. That's cool.
So we have an audio book. Obviously the book is digital any way you want to get it, whether you're into Kindle or whatever. The actual book you can get, and the 6 a.m. album with the song The First 21 is off our Hits album. That comes out October 22nd. So it's all coming. And if you go to my Instagram, we filmed a 3.5 minute trailer, with kind of like a movie trailer for the book. It's just another way of like wrangling the cats in my brain. But go check it out, because it does give you an overview of kind of what the book is about and what I've gone through and the changes that I've gone through in life as a man.
Dude, that is so cool. We're going to have all the links in the show notes. We'll even have that trailer in there too. I obviously follow you on Instagram, but we'll have all your handles in there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the book, the trailer, the whole 9 yards. Gentlemen, if you want to go follow Nikki Sixx, I highly encourage you to pick up his book, The First 21 by Nikki Sixx. Just this amazing conversation. And you can find everything at thedadedge.com/343 for this show. Nikki, this has been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thanks, man.
Really enjoyed this.
Thanks. I've enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
great.
Me too.
So have a great day, and we'll do it again next time I'm around. Whatever the new thing is that we pull out of the sky and turn it into reality, we'll talk about it again. All right.
Love it, man. Love it. Thank you for coming on.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. Have a good day.